I'm ranked number 3 out of 50. My job's safe. I just feel like the job market is so weird right now with the tariffs and the economy and the stock crashing and all that. I know a ton of people that are really amazing, but they have no visibility, no personal brand, but they have opportunities they can get from being on stages. So
Jarrett Albritton is a seasoned sales leader, entrepreneur, and diversity advocate with over 15 years of experience driving revenue growth at Fortune 500 companies and high-growth startups. As founder and CEO of DEI Staffing, he has helped hundreds of diverse professionals transition into tech through strategic partnerships and social audio platforms. This mission also led him to launch the Big Tech Energy podcast, focused on inspiring and empowering diverse talent in tech, entrepreneurship, and investing. Before founding DEI Staffing and Big Tech Energy, Jarrett excelled as an enterprise sales executive at IBM in startups like Kyriba, ClearSlide, and WalkMe, consistently exceeding quotas and closing multi-million-dollar deals. Through every chapter of his career, Jarrett remains committed to opening doors, building community, and creating lasting impact in the tech industry and beyond.
Find technology that would have helped you in your past role. It sounds crazy, but like that's what tech sales is. It's basically giving somebody that has one leg and giving them another leg and then showing them how fast they can run with it. I want us as Black people, when we get into a tech company, to make them feel like, damn, I'm so happy you hired Jarrett, and I want to hire more people from his community. I'm really glad that we're talking because we actually work with Syracuse University. We're able to increase their admissions by 2x and decrease the time it takes you to do so, and this is how.
Okay, welcome back, guys. It has been a while since we have had someone in tech sales, and I've been waiting to talk to this guy for a while. He has one hell of a career going in tech sales, actually works with an amazing company that I'm working with a little bit called WriteSea that is helping people update their resume with AI, interview with AI, negotiate with AI, and ultimately get jobs. So Jarrett Albritton, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So Jarrett also has a huge tech podcast, Big Tech Energy. We're going to talk about that. But I want to start with his career in tech sales. I think it's very interesting. There are different paths in tech sales. There is, obviously the big tech route where a lot of those people at like Microsoft and Dell kind of can kick back and just get renewals. There's also like people that go to mid-sized companies and kind of hustle and make a lot of money. You've kind of gone a third way where you're kind of taking it to network and do more entrepreneurial stuff, which I think is very interesting. So why don't you tell us how you got into it to start?
Yeah, so in terms of tech sales, I actually did a little bit of a journey similar to that. So I started off at big tech, IBM, and then I worked for startups where there were like Series A, Series B startups, the hustle, the make a lot of money type vibe. And I did that for about, 15 years. But basically because of my like personal brand and the, visibility I got through, helping people break into tech, that's how I met the co-founders of the current company that I'm at. And one thing that I decided after taking a hiatus from tech sales, and I guess I'm just gonna jump to where I'm at currently, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like when I took my hiatus from tech sales and I started building up this big network, gained 100,000 plus followers with my podcast and my brand. When I said I was gonna go back to tech sales in any kind of way, I wanted to make sure it was an executive type of move where I could get some really significant equity so that if we do get acquired, like my last company startup that I was with, WalkMe, they got acquired for $1.5 billion, right? So obviously if I would have had a significant amount of equity, then I would have been not working right now.
Right.
So that's the goal, is to start a company or be at the starting stage of a company to where I can build their sales strategy, drive the revenue to the place that we get acquired by a big company, or if we decide to, we IPO. But ultimately equity is the game for me right now because I want to have that kind of like retire money type stuff. And so how I got into it was through, just networking, content creation. the co-founder, CEO of WriteSea, he had a resume company, and so did the CMO of WriteSea. He had a resume company. So when I was doing these spaces on Clubhouse, helping people get jobs, I would throw them a ton of love and a ton of business, so we built a rapport. I then had the CMO, co-founder, Leander, on my podcast. And so when he told me about, they just raised $2.5 million and what they were doing, I really, one, like them as people. Two, would love to work with Black founders. If I'm going to make anybody rich, it'd be great to make a Black founder rich. And then three, I love the product and the mission they're on and helping people get jobs through AI. I felt like the product was really innovative. And I said, they basically asked me like, hey, do you know anybody that could, run our sales? Because they felt like I wasn't in the game no more. And I was like, well, yeah, I could. Yeah. They're like, oh, you're actually looking? I was like, well, I'm in the market for like an executive type role with, a Series A, pre-seed, seed startup. So I had conversations with them. I had conversations with another startup, ended up moving forward with them. And I've been with them for about 14 months, and it's been a crazy ride. And, big tech has its benefits in terms of like structure, systems, reputation, whereas startups, especially this like young of a startup, we're kind of building the plane as we fly. But we have some incredible developers, some incredible engineers. We got, incredible marketing team, and our CEO is a beast. So we've been crushing it, man. And our goal is just to impact, 1 billion job seekers through our platform, and then ultimately scale it to the place where it might be, worth $1 billion, $2 billion acquisition.
Yeah, and I think the product is great, and I've played around with it, and I'm going to have a link down below for everyone. But what I tell people in the recruitment business is like, listen, you have to use AI to rework the resume. But that's not going to like guarantee, like you just have to be even nowadays with that. So like, it doesn't really guarantee you anything. It's just like, now you're just in the game, where if you don't, some people are just like, oh, I'm a great fit for that. I'm like, doesn't look like it. Like, dude, you got to rework this. And that's the great thing about WriteSea and his software is it'll do that for you every job that you're applying to.
Yeah. So the cool thing about our software, it's a career mobility suite where it helps with resumes, cover letters, interview prep, salary negotiation. You can track jobs, you can track contacts, and you can also, there's a job aggregator. You didn't see this in the platform. It is actually new. We have a job aggregator in the platform, so millions of jobs where you can actually apply within the platform. You can track it within the platform, and then we have a resume matcher. So you upload your resume, and then we have rewrite with AI where you can rewrite every single bullet point. You can change it to different templates, all this cool stuff. So we actually take those resumes and like match it with our job board so that when you search for a job, you can like click a button that says, match it with my resume, and it gives you all the roles that really match with your resume. Wow. So, and then you can move it from the different stages that you're interviewing so that you can see, okay, I've applied to 20 companies, I only got 6 interviews here, and you can actually see it within the job tracker. This is where I might be missing the mark in terms of where I'm applying, and my experience might not actually align with some of these things, where my experience aligns more with the 6 jobs that I did get an interview for. Let me focus more on these 6. So its goal is to be more strategic, but ultimately, like, my favorite part of the platform is interview prep. Because resumes and cover letters, you got ChatGPT, you got Google Gemini, you got all kinds of stuff that's out there, right? But what makes our product special and what really helps is interviewing is the gatekeeper of a job. You can have the craziest resume that gets you all kinds of interviews. If you don't have the confidence, if you're not prepared, if you're not familiar with the company, you're gonna struggle, right? So what we have is the ability to put your job description into the platform, put a job description in the platform, and then we're gonna give you really detailed interview questions. And then from there, you can get on camera and actually practice the interview with an avatar, and you can choose the type of interview. So situational, behavioral, technical, culture fit. You can choose the type of avatar, final interview, hiring manager interview, teammate interview. You can also choose the difficulty, beginner, intermediate, or expert.
thought of everything.
Exactly right. And so these questions are super detailed, like super detailed to the job description, super detailed to your resume as well. And so they're going to ask you these questions that are going to feel like gotchas, but you're going to be able to get gotcha'd on the privacy of your own home, on your laptop, and you're going to watch yourself back, see yourself stutter, stammer, all the mistakes that you would have made in the interview. You'll also get feedback from our AI letting you know a scale from 1 to 10, what's your verbal fluency, what's your relevance to the question in terms of your answer, what, nonverbal communication. And we'll also give you 3 things that you can improve for the entire interview. We'll give you a score, but you'll also get 3 things you can improve for every single question and a score for every question. So I really want to emphasize that because there's a ton of this AI resume stuff out there. And so when I joined the company, I was like, what's going to make us different than other platforms that do AI resumes? And it was just like, well, our interview prep is going to set us apart for sure in terms of, the video interview, but most importantly, it's just going to be the innovation. So the cool thing about this platform and this company is every day that I talk to a university or a workforce development center or a creator about the platform, they always tell me different things that they would love to see in the platform. And what I love about WriteSea is the fact that we have a really dynamic CTO and product team that if somebody says, hey, we should integrate a job aggregator inside the platform so people don't have to go outside to find jobs. I tell the VP of product, I tell my CEO, and it gets built. So that's the cool thing about startups is like, if you have the right team, then you can be agile in terms of how you develop the product, how you think about customers and where to focus, because ultimately it's all about strategy. And I started off as an enterprise account executive with the company, but I'm currently now the VP of strategy, VP of sales, because I am passionate about the product and I'm passionate about delivering value for the customers. And I think it's going to be evident if you or when you do a free trial of the platform through Chris's link, you're going to see like this thing is pretty dope. And the goal is to get you more interviews and then turn those interviews into more jobs ultimately.
Yeah, and it's great when you solve a problem that is really annoying to people, because a lot of times I'm like, all right, you got to redo the resume, and then it's like 24 hours, 48 hours. And they're like, oh, yeah, here. I'm like, dude, it's closed. Like,
yeah.
You know how fast things move these days?
Yeah.
With his platform, it's just boom, okay, new resume, done.
Yeah.
So I love it. And again, check the link below, and would love to see you guys do a free trial.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, just let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of the platform. I'm Dr. J on Instagram, DOCTAJ. So yeah, shoot me a DM. Let me know what you think. We're always open to feedback, but, and also let me know if you get a job. We're always about those testimonials.
Yeah. And you said you got this job through your social media presence. So what was it? You started on Clubhouse and then you went to the podcast, and how did that actually work? Why'd you even get into Clubhouse?
So it was pretty random and organic. Ultimately, I've been in tech for 15 plus years, didn't have a social media account, or I had a social media account, but no followers.
Personal page.
Didn't post nothing.
Yeah.
I had no real, interest in being a public figure, but my friend told me about this social audio app called Clubhouse. And she was like, hey, this is a, invite only, but there's some really dynamic people in here. And I think you would, benefit from being here. So she invited me in, and I was just there to listen, just to be a fly on the wall and just listen. And ultimately I found this club called Blacks in Tech. And I'm like, oh, I'm Black, I'm in tech. And I'm listening, and they're talking about engineering, data science, cybersecurity, all these different things, but they're not talking about software sales. And so I popped on stage and I said, hey, we'd love for y'all to explore software sales. And I started sharing my experiences, what it takes to transfer in, some of the benefits, some of the challenges. And I looked down at my phone and I saw I went from 80 followers to 200 and as soon as I got done speaking. So I was like, wow, there's big interest in this. And I look at my Instagram, I got a bunch of DMs. Long story short, I started hosting rooms about tech, and pandemic, we're locked inside. So I would see, software engineer in Amazon in the bio. I'd just pull you up randomly and I'd say, hey, Amazon, what's it like to work there? What advice do you have for people that are trying to get in? How'd you find out about software engineering? What resources do you recommend? Just doing that type of thing. And I went from 80 followers to 30,000 in 2 months. Wow. And then I turned that into, we're having a lot of great conversations, but everybody, when they hear about these exciting tech jobs, they're looking for the job now. And they're hitting me up being like, hey, can you connect me with these companies? And I'm like, I'm one person, you're like 30,000 DMs. So what I started doing is I started throwing recruiters and hiring managers on stages and then having people in the audience shoot their shot. So I'm not the bottleneck anymore. That turned into growing into 80,000 followers. And as that started happening, I started moving people to LinkedIn, Instagram, but Clubhouse ultimately had like a fall off. The world's opened up, whatever the case is. So that's what led to me, through people I met on Clubhouse saying like, hey, I have a podcast studio. If you ever want to use it, pull up. And so that's how Big Tech Energy formed. And it's on YouTube, Spotify, all that kind of stuff. But the goal is to highlight Black excellence in tech. Because I just want people in our community, my community, to see people that look like us that, can wear J's and a bomber jacket and be their authentic self, but still make a lot of good money in tech. But more importantly, want to highlight the mindset of the people that do really well in tech, because, there's a lot of lifestyle marketing and TikToks about, oh, I can work from the pool and I work 2 hours a day and all this kind of stuff. But I make $250,000. And so it's giving people this false belief like, okay, I just show up and I'll just make a bunch of money and I can do the very least. And as you can see in 2025, that is not the case. Layoffs are happening all day, every day, all over the place. Hybrid to, come back in the office is happening because the narrative of this TikTok fantasy of tech just started permeating, and it started hurting us because we would get the certifications just to get the job. And then once we get the job, we're, playing with the mouse to make sure people think we're working and stuff like that. So I wanted people to hear from people that are really successful, that have the mindset of curiosity, like they really are interested in what they're doing. They're really interested in bringing value to customers. They're really interested in bringing value to their teammates. They're really interested in bringing value to their executive teams. And they're also really interested in solving problems and creating and being the best at what they do. And so that's what I try to focus on my Instagram and my podcast, is like the mindset of things, because the resources are there. Educational opportunities are there, but what's going to separate you is kind of like your mindset of like, one, are you trying to do the right thing by your company? Are you trying to do the right things by your clients? And to me, like, trying to do the absolute least isn't doing that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And don't get me wrong, like I had a great work-life balance when I was at these, software sales roles, and they give you flexibility, but it's earned flexibility through really like hitting it hard and hitting the phones, hitting the emails, doing what you got to do to build the pipeline, implement, have successful customers, have those successful customers talk to other customers on your behalf. Then you can kind of chill out a little bit. But you're making sure that you're overachieving on your goals. You're making sure you're communicating to your leadership team, like what's about to happen, how's it going to happen, et cetera. And then you can, kind of, have a little bit of that, work-life balance type thing. But I want to make sure people get to that place that I got to, which was, consistent results, consistent achievement, consistent W-2s, and then maintaining those W-2s or growing them, even if my hours don't increase. And there's a method to that madness, and that's kind of what I talk about. I try to talk about on my podcast, and I talk about on my Instagram. That's how the whole personal brand thing popped off, and it's been dope. Do a lot of speaking engagements.
Yeah, you're speaking this weekend, correct?
Yeah, I'm speaking this week at ByteCon. Spoke last. Where was I?
You in Philly a month ago?
I was in Philly for Diversitech. got Dreaming in Color coming up. So that's also been pretty cool. And that's something that I'm also, helping people with as well. Because I believe like if you are a tech employee, a tech founder, even a tech investor, you are a personal brand in the age of technology and Instagram and LinkedIn, et cetera. Your personal brand can create so many opportunities. If you're, a content creator, it can drive followers. If you're a consultant, you can get so many consultants sessions booked. And so I know a ton of people that are really amazing, but they have no visibility, no personal brand, but they have opportunities they can get from being on stages. So this year I created a speaker agency called Big Stage Energy. And it's just helping people that don't get speaking engagements, land speaking engagements through the network I built through Clubhouse and Big Tech Energy, et cetera, and doing all these speaking engagements. I'm like, all right, cool, you're a data scientist. Go to blacktechglobal.com, give me your top 10, stages you want to be on. And then I introduce them to all the founders and I get them on stage. Then I'm like, what podcast do you want to get on? And I'll list out about 10 podcasts I think they're a good fit for, and then I get them plugged in.
Wow.
So
it's a whole agency you've built on top of that. Wow.
Yeah, and it's just organic. It doesn't take much time out of my schedule. I meet with my clients on the weekends, but it's been dope. Like the whole roster of Bicon is pretty much my clients, and then Diversitech, same thing. And because it's adding value to the conference organizers too. Like they don't have to go and search out for the newest and greatest speaking talent. And one thing for me, I'm like, one, I want to make sure that there's not overlapping people on my agency, and then two, they actually know what they're talking about and they can add value. If you can do that,
so you
then
coach them as well,
right?
On everything. Okay.
Yeah, I coach them on their Instagram, their LinkedIn, how to promote their engagements, all that kind of stuff. It's the goal really is to basically, like, if you're a job seeker even, and say you've been killing in your career, which a lot of people have, 10, 12 years, 15 years, and now they're kind of in this lull where like it's hard to get hired. And that's just happened to a lot of people right now. So if that's the case, then start speaking on tech stages about your experience and then talk directly to the companies recruiting at that event. They're going to be like, dang, we were able to snatch. Yeah, we were able to not only get some of the attendees, we got one of the speakers to join the company, and it's a feather in their cap because they spent a bunch of money to talk and sponsor the conference. So that's been another cool thing that I've just been like passionate about. And then WriteSea partners with a lot of these tech conferences. They offer the job search genius to their attendees or their organizations. So it's one of those things where it's like, and it's cool, my corporate day job matches with my personal passions, which is helping people get jobs, helping people understand AI, and then also, helping conference organizers monetize, or podcasters and creators monetize through affiliates. So it's been cool.
Yeah, that's great because like obviously the personal brand is now blending with the company. You're part owner, you have equity, so you're not running a fitness business after WriteSea, and it has nothing to do with it. So that's perfect. I think that's so needed in tech because a lot of people it just still goes over their head. Even when I'm like, hey, nice studio, you want to be on the podcast? They're just like, I have a job, I don't know, get away from me.
Right.
In 5 years, everyone will realize like they should go to someone like you because they need to get on stages, podcasts, all that stuff. Right now, it's still a bit like, I don't know, that's kind of like for influencer types, So you probably get a lot of that, I don't want to say pushback, but like, I'm uncomfortable about it.
Yeah. So I try to just focus it on like the outcomes. So if you are a tech founder and you're raising, let's get you in conference stages where there's investors. If you are looking for a role, then let's go to conferences where they have big job expos, and let's actually utilize your stage presence for your job search strategy. If you are doing consulting or you're selling ebooks or courses, let's drive sales. So it's not just to talk for the sake of talking. There's a purpose for it every time. And so I even qualify that too. It's like, what are you talking on stage for? What's the point? And they're like, you know, they don't really have a point. Then it's just like,
Let's get one.
yeah, let's make one. Let's figure one out. Let's figure out some benefit, because, you know, if you're gonna, you know, pay for this service, I want you to get as much ROI as possible. And then, you know, similar to tech sales or any kind of sales, I like case studies. I like success metrics. So if you're somebody that is selling, you know, $10,000 course that works, and that's great, and you talk on 5 stages and you know, get 50 clients, that's a huge case study for me. Like, that's the type of stuff that I want. And then I want the case study to also be those 50 clients landed 50 jobs and we're very successful too, because that matters to me as well. But yeah, no, it's been cool. And I mean, you don't talk on many tech stages, do you?
Soon.
You should.
Actually, Wednesdays, I'm doing one. So yeah, no, that it is coming. So
yeah, and it'd be super easy for you. Like you, somebody like you wouldn't even need somebody like me. But I think it's not about a need. It's just about like, all right, I have 50 relationships that you could apply to and you could get it. But if I connect you to all 50 people, then y'all can create something, you know, that will, you know, benefit you long term and the relationship itself. So, plus, you know, these conference organizers have a lot of connections.
Yeah.
From sponsors that they work with to venues to this to that. So they're good people to know too. So I just tell people that are successful, like, get to know these conference organizers, speak on stages. You never know who's in the room. And it's been crazy, like some of the people that have come up to me after speaking, that, you know, it creates crazy opportunities. I'm like, dang, I would have never expected you to be in the audience, but I'm glad you were, and I'm glad I spoke. So yeah, that's something I'm also pretty passionate about as well.
You're seeing, probably what I'm seeing is more people in tech are getting into the mentorship course game. You coach people in that as well? Like, say this guy's like great at whatever, Python, data science. We had a data science guy in before. I mean, do you help people kind of get into that as well?
So I did, and I still kind of do. If somebody approaches me proactively and it's like, hey, I want to pick your brain, then I'll send them the link to my Calendly and be like, hey, you know, here's my consultation call, you know, site. But ultimately, like 2025, and I would love to get your thoughts on this, I just feel like the market is so tough. I don't want to give anybody, I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. Right. And when I used to do consultation calls all the time, it was when I had recruiters hitting me up every day being like, yo, do you have somebody? Now when I hit them up and I'm like, I have somebody, they're like, great, I have 100 people that I have to go through. So I don't know if maybe I'm just not, what's it called, being resilient enough or whatever, but I just feel like the job market is so weird right now with the tariffs and the economy and the stock crashing and all that. I don't promote, hey, I can get you a job in tech. Right. Because I just don't want to overpromise, underdeliver. Yeah. But, you know.
What's the entry level market like that you're seeing? I do mostly staff aug, which we'll talk about. I do a lot of staff aug, a lot of project work, and some headhunting on top, you know, but senior level. I mean, yeah. You probably talk to a lot of junior people like, hey man, like I love your stuff. Like I want to get into this. What do I do? What do you see in the junior market now? Like the entry level stuff?
Man, I mean, it's weird. It's like these entry level jobs are asking for 3 to 5 years work experience. Right. So it's like, where do they get that? So when it comes to like software engineering, I think it's just a tough space because there's too many laid off software engineers that are willing to take those junior jobs just for the sake of like, I just don't want to be unemployed anymore. Yeah. And then with AI, I think software engineering is just going to be a tough road ahead. But I say with tech sales, the entry level market is great. Mm-hmm. Because AI is, AI is going to be able to do some things with AI agents, but they're never going to really be able to do the nuance of a long sales cycle.
Right.
And even with SDR stuff, yeah, they may be able to take over SDR stuff eventually, but the nuances of being quick on your feet with objection handling, with a cold call, or customizing it for LinkedIn email, I think it's still a human's game. So ultimately, the startup space, there's still companies popping up. When it comes to the enterprise space, they're still trying to grow divisions, and they're trying to replace salespeople that aren't necessarily doing well. So there's
With an entry-level guy.
Yeah.
Or girl.
Yeah. So SDR roles, sales development representative roles, like those are still very prevalent. And if you want to really move fast in tech sales, work for like a Series A, Series B, Series C startup. They got that money because they were intended to grow their sales. In order to grow sales, they need to hire salespeople. And there's usually like a 3 to 5 year, market growth plan that they convince these investors with. And that typically means like, not only are we going to grow revenue, but we're going to keep on hiring. So you want to get in early when they get that money, because then you can basically rise on the org chart while the org chart grows, if you want to, or you can cherry pick all the best accounts because you're the first person there.
Right.
And then you can kind of dictate where you want to be and be part of the strategy as the company expands. So, all right, we're thinking about doing an East and a West team and this and that. You can make sure you position yourself in the best situation.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I want this because they have the best accounts, and you built a rapport with the CEO enough to where they're like, we wouldn't be here without your efforts, so we're gonna take care of you.
Yeah.
So like, I really enjoyed that experience in my SaaS career with Kyriba, with ClearSlide. WalkMe, I showed up a little later.
What does WalkMe?
It's a digital adoption platform. It basically helps with step-by-step instruction to guide users through different applications. And so we would sell it to like, Salesforce or Workday or, ServiceNow, these, applications that a lot of people use. Say, hey, we can help your adoption by giving people guided walkthroughs, automation, stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. And that company ended up IPOing, and then they got acquired by SAP for $1.5 billion. But like, I was able to be there as it grew and kind of watch it get to that place of IPO, and I was able to get some equity too. So
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it ended up, being a nice little surprise last year.
Slivered that 1.5 bill.
Yeah, exactly. But
Not bad.
but yeah, like that's what I think tech sales is where it's at for sure. And then I think cybersecurity is difficult, is weird. I mean, I think there's a lot of demand for it, but yeah, these technical roles, entry level stuff. That's all I can say, really.
Yeah.
I would say tech sales is still a good place to get entry level role. And there's a lot of different programs you can utilize to get into tech sales. But the one that I partner with is Always Hired, personally, because they partner with startups like the ones that I'm talking about that are Series A, Series B, Series C, and they got all this money to grow. So if they got that money to grow, they spend it with Always Hired, because they train people not only on how to do tech sales and all the nuances of it, but they also train people on how to use AI to like really crush it at your job.
Oh, wow.
Like how to, create email campaigns utilizing AI, and how to do your, territory research using AI. So basically, like, they're training you to know all the vernacular and how to interview, all that kind of stuff. They got the inside track with these companies, so they know that, okay, you are trained up. But then they also are giving you the gem so that when you land at a role and you're on a team of 10 SDRs, you're going to be able to do twice the work in half the time. And the goal is to get twice the results. So you can quickly get out of that SDR role and get into AE role, where you're no longer calling and appointment setting for AEs that are experienced, but you're actually driving sales and you're now got the corporate card and you're at the conferences and you're doing all the things. And it's a little bit of a longer path if you start with like an Amazon or an IBM or whatever, because just they're always hiring where you would get promoted. And so with startups that don't have a name, you know what I'm saying? Like they're not going to get all that demand in terms of applications or the quality of people because they're under the radar. So they're going to need you to skill up and then move you up and then replace you. And you have all that experience with the product that you're going to really like, you know, do your thing. And, you know, yeah, I mean, so like I say that's, if I were going to tell anybody how to get into tech as an entry level, do something like Always Hired or something else like it that gives you training and has employer connections. When you get in there, overachieve by utilizing AI for emails, for LinkedIn prospecting, you know, for, you know, recording your conversations and taking notes. And then once you have a year or two crushing it, you get an AE role. That's when the headhunters start hitting you up and, you know, things start moving. So that's kind of like the approach that I take. Anything outside of that, software engineering, cybersecurity, data science, I used to help people get those jobs, but now I just feel like, let me focus on the area that I have a little bit more know-how in. And then I have resources that, you know, I hook people up on the consultation calls, but I'll give everybody some free gems here. Like Rev Genius is a great community. It's free to meet with a lot of different sales leaders, SDRs, sales engineers, and just really start networking your way in, and also getting some education and also getting some visibility into some jobs that aren't actually posted on the websites. And then I would also say, besides Rev Genius, RepView is another great place if you are looking to get into tech sales. It's like Glassdoor, but just for like the SaaS sales space. So you get to see, kind of like Glassdoor, you know, what do they rank the leadership organization? You know, what's their experience like? But what's really cool is you get to see what percentage of reps are making quota, and then how much are reps making, so that you can decide, like, if it's, you know, some random company you never heard of, but you see 90% of the reps are making quota, and you know, reps are doing $500,700,000 W-2s, and then entry level are doing somewhere between 80 and 90 to 100. That's somewhere that you want to be. And then most importantly, like, know where's the product actually strong. You know, like, where is the product? Does it work? Do they have good testimonials and case studies? How does it compare to the competition? Because no matter if you're working for an IBM or an Amazon or a Google, if you're in a division where the product is like ranked 4th out of 6, you're going to struggle. And then when customers buy, are they going to renew? Are they going to grow? You know, those are the things I think about.
Yeah. So anyone that comes to you now, I mean, do people come to you and you're just like, you're just not a good fit for tech sales? But like most people, you push to tech sales. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then what about people you're just like, I don't think you're a great fit. Let's look at something else.
You know what? I feel like everybody can do tech sales once you realize how to approach it. So I think one thing that people have a misunderstanding about is like tech sales is talking people into doing stuff, where tech sales really is asking really good discovery questions to figure out, is this person needing what I have? And so you disqualify people as quickly as you qualify them. So like there's this perception that you have to be desperate and pushy and all this kind of stuff. Whereas I'm just asking questions about, like, you know, what are your challenges? And if I see your challenge matches up with what we have, then it's like, perfect. This challenge, this is how we've helped others, right? But it's about asking those questions. And usually if you ask those questions, there's trust built, And now there's an interest now that they've kind of like bared their soul and all of their problems. Now there's an interest. And so like I tell introverts, if you can just be strategic about the type of questions you ask and strategic about your time in terms of focusing on the decision makers and the companies that have the pain points the most, then it's not an easy job, but it's not as talky, slick salesperson thing that you think. Because I know some people that make a ton of money in tech sales and they are super shy, super chill, introverted, but they really believe in the product. They really ask questions from a place of I care and I want to see you win. So I'm asking these questions to understand how I can help. And if you have that mentality, you can do really well in tech sales. And I just tell people like, whatever industry you were in before, education, marketing, freaking automotive, whatever, find technology that would have helped you in your past role, or helped your teammates or helped your company in your past role, because now you're talking from a place of a subject matter expert. Like I'm selling software to schools to help with admissions, and I came from admissions. I totally understand your challenges as an admissions person. You have lack of visibility in this data. This process takes too long, whatever, right? Are you experiencing those challenges like I did when I used to do that? If so, how? And then they bare their soul and it's like, oh, that sucks. Yeah. Well, I'm really glad that we're talking because we actually work with Syracuse University. We're able to increase their admissions by 2x and decrease the time it takes you to do so. And this is how. And so now it doesn't really feel like I'm selling you something. It's like, I'm here to save the day and help you, have better mental health, make more money, better job stability, and also help the people that you're trying to serve better, and also make you look credible so that you get that promotion, and you're also helping your manager. So like I always try to think about the overall benefit of solving the problem. And that's what we are. We're really business consultants. So try to understand your business, understand your challenges, and the technology part. If you ask me to code, or I have to jump off a building, I'm gonna hit the ground pretty soon. Yeah. I am not technical. I do not know software that well. Even as a VP of sales AI, I don't know much, but I don't need to know much. All I need to know is that it works and what the benefits are. And then the cool thing about tech sales is there's a sales engineer. Like you just had Cyrus on the other day. He started off his career as a sales engineer that do my demos, that explain the technical aspects, that go through security reviews, that go through implementation details and integration details. I have that person on my side. I don't need to know none of that.
Fill in for what you don't know.
Yeah, like tell me the C++ this. Oh, talk to John. But what I'm trying to figure out is, do you have budget? What is the decision-making process? Are you looking at anybody else? And what is the need? That's the biggest thing. Like, what is the need? What is the challenge? What is the pain? What is it costing you? What are your future goals? How are you gonna get there? But if there's a really strong need, there's a budget, there's access and buy-in with the decision makers, and they have a timeline that is urgent, then that's great. So I try to look for products that solve a really big problem, an expensive problem, with companies that can pay it, have paid it, and have benefited. That's how I look at things. So I just tell people when it comes to tech sales, if you find that and you get in the door and you work hard, and you actually care about people, which is big, then you can do well and you can get over your shyness, you can get over your introvertedness, you can get over your lack of technical ability because you don't need none of that. So yeah, I mean, I sell people into getting into tech sales. Maybe somebody in this podcast might be sold into doing it that didn't think they could, because once you take it away from, I have to convince people to do something, to I just have to find the right fits, and then I just kind of walk them through the process of how we're going to save your life. I look at it like this.
It's less confrontational,
Right. Yeah. So like I have one leg, and somebody calls me up and they're like, hey, I'm reaching out because, I want to connect with folks that have one leg, discuss some of the challenges that you're having with that, just having one leg, and explore some of the solutions that we have to potentially give you another leg. And that it's kind of extreme, but it's just like, so they're like, what are the challenges? I have to hop around, I have to do that. Like what, Okay, what if I could, provide you with this leg, and it has these benefits, and Chris, Cyrus, and Kayla, they all use this other leg, and now they can walk X times faster, and It sounds crazy, but like that's what tech sales is. It's basically giving somebody that has one leg and giving them another leg, and then showing them how fast they can run with it. The only thing that you're trying to figure out is, can they afford it? And what's the process to do it? And do they have other leg options that they can go for? So, and when I tell people the leg thing, they're like, oh, selling somebody a leg? Fuck, I could do that.
Yeah.
Databases and cyber and all that, it sounds crazy, but like it could be as urgent as like giving somebody a leg that has only one leg. That's how passionate and excited you should be about your product, and you should feel pride when you see somebody walking around without hopping and having those challenges, and then have them talk to somebody else with one leg and be like, I know you don't like salespeople, you don't trust Jarrett yet, but here's why you should, and here's why my life is so much better now, and because of my two legs, I met my wife, So that's the type of energy, and that's why I name my podcast Big Tech Energy, because it's like, tech sales could be super lame if you're just into manipulating people and selling them, snake oil just so that you can get a Maserati. Like that is something that happens. Sure. And that's why sales has this weird gross stigma to it. So I just try to tell people, like, if you come into it genuinely interested in solving the problem and making people's life better, this job is actually fun and it's easy. Because when you're getting told no all the time, instead of being like, man, I got told no, how am I gonna pay my bills? I'm just like, dang, that sucks, man. I could have given you a leg.
Yeah.
And you don't even know because you hung up on me too fast, or you're, being too, you didn't give me a chance. But what that does do is it makes me come back around and be like, are you sure you don't want that second leg? Right. Let me just tell you a little bit more about what we do. And And it's not because I'm trying to push you to buy. I'm just trying to get you another leg, so that you can live life the way that you should and could, and you can afford to do so. You just don't know there's a solution out there like ours. So yeah, if you can find a product like that in an industry that you're already familiar with, the job's pretty fun. It's easy, and there's not a personality type that you need to have.
Yeah. Yeah. And then before we go, when we talk about diversity in tech, obviously that's a big thing for you. I mean, what have you seen? Because my career, I've been, I would say, insulated from it, because everyone I deal with is senior to, just under senior. So anyone I deal with has all the skills that I need.
Yeah.
So to me, it's never been a challenge getting Black people hired at, great tech jobs. I've had a lot of men and women who were Black that were hiring managers for me. But I also started in Philly, and I worked at Comcast, they had a lot of diversity initiatives too. So, it has been a problem for me, but potentially I am in a bubble. So I kind of want to hear what you have to say about this.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly feel like tech does care about diversity more than other industries. Mm-hmm. And so I think ultimately, that was just more of a supply issue. And now, because of people like, myself and others that are kind of like influencers and like educating people on tech, now the supply issue isn't as bad as it was. But so ultimately, like my 15 years in tech, I didn't really see many people that look like me at my companies. But that's also, I worked for startups and things like that. And then in tech sales, like there were barely anybody of color in tech sales. So I think it was just understanding what was out there type of thing. Like my community didn't know about cyber and software engineering and stuff like that as much 10 years ago as they do now. But it's interesting though, like the climate right now with Trump trying to take away everything DEI, employee resource groups are starting to like go away, things of that nature. I'm not sure if like it's harder to get hired as a diverse candidate now than before because I'm not in the market. But George Floyd and that movement, when I started on Clubhouse, they were clamoring to hire African Americans, people of color, et cetera. And they did an over-hiring in a way at that time. And I'll be honest, and I mean, this might not be a take I should say, but I feel like because a lot of people were sold tech from a get money and work very little standpoint, that they thought that was the move. And so they got hired after George Floyd and they did their jobs, but they did it from a perspective of, I just want to work remote and I want to be able to do my own thing and just make money type stuff. And I think it left a bad taste in some employers' mouths. You know what I'm saying? Like the DEI initiative didn't improve the bottom line enough or at all, or maybe it whatever. So I feel like there is a little bit of, I think that's why like DEI isn't being fought for as much by like corporate leaders, tech leaders, things of that nature. But you know, that's why I push, like, I want us as Black people when we get into a tech company to make them feel like, damn, I'm so happy you hired Jarrett and I want to hire more people from his community. You know what I'm saying? So I just say that to say to anybody that is, you know, getting hired and is representing, like, represent us well and do the damn thing, kill it. Because, yeah, these layoffs are going to happen, ebbs and flows of layoffs. And I think diversity hires are easy targets right now with Trump rhetoric.
Yeah.
And so I never want to be seen as a diversity hire, although I might have been a diversity hire at some points in my career. I always wanted to be like the top 1%, you know, producer, so that they rethink diversity hire as just a formality and they think of it more as a strength, an asset. So, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think because I see from the corporate side where it was, 2 years ago, they were all in, and then, you know, you're like, oh, I guess you didn't believe any of this stuff. Like, it was just dropped like that, which, I mean, I think a lot of people were, you know, it was a lot of large salaries, you know, with, I mean, I knew people that were getting, you know, they were DI certified and they were just rubber stamping corporate policies to protect from lawsuits. So, you know, clearly these companies didn't really believe a lot of it. But no, I mean, I love what you're saying now. It's like, yeah, I mean, that was that false kind of mirage of tech, because it wasn't just your community. You would see these like 23-year-old girls like, okay, here's my day at Meta and we did yoga and we drank some green tea, and I think it had the same effect on them as well. And I mean, when the axe hit, you know, they were the first to go. You know, all these product managers that weren't doing anything, boom, they were gone. Yeah. So
yeah, I feel like Gen Z got hit real hard. And then, you know, diversity hires kind of got targeted as well. Like if you're a DEI hire and you aren't in the top 50%. That's why I like sales too, and that's why I kind of pitch to people is like sales is dope because it's a results number game, number driven game. So it's not subjective like where I provided value to the company. I'm ranked number 3 out of 50. My job's safe. If I'm 47 out of 50, it's not a DEI issue.
Right.
It's a results issue. And I know what's happening. I know that I either need to get myself up or I got to get out. And I like that clarity. And I feel like in some corporate jobs, there's not that clarity. And it can be that, favoritism, all those type of things will like have somebody stay versus others. And it's not a results thing. So yeah, that's why I like sales, because the layoff stuff, I never had to worry about it.
Right.
I knew where I
spoke
stood.
For themselves.
Yeah, I always knew where I stood. And you want to be liked by your organization and all that kind of stuff, but it's not like a politic corporate game that you have to play. But you do want to be liked by everybody for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but ultimately I'm very passionate about DEI, diversity in tech. And so I think for me, it's about supporting these conferences that still are a pipeline of bringing diversity into corporations that are still supporting it. I think we should recognize corporations that are supporting these diverse tech conferences and make sure that, we shop at their stores and we show them love, because the same way that we're boycotting Target, we should, really support some of these tech companies and overall companies that are sticking by DEI despite lobbyists and politicians that are telling them they shouldn't. Yeah, like we're all we got. So like we just got to make sure that we put each other on. If you're a hiring manager or an executive, fight for DEI, but also just tell people in our community, fight to be the best, and you won't have to worry about nothing.
Yeah.
And give results, and you'll have people like Chris hitting you up.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to follow up with Jarrett saying, I'm a big fan of these conferences as well, because the education needs to come out to more people. Like, for instance, I had an AWS job I was working on this week, and 10 fake resumes. There's not real legitimate people to do a lot of these jobs. As bad as the market is, there's still jobs that no one can fill because there's not enough, legitimate talent, and people fake their resumes. I talk about it all the time. So yeah, get the skills.
Yeah, get the skills, build the network. And when you get inside the company, man, show and prove. Don't just do the least to keep a job. That's 2025. Games aren't being played. You gotta be a bottom line driver, or else you're gonna get driven out.
Absolutely. Yeah, so check out WriteSea, check out Big Tech Energy. We'll have all of Jarrett's socials down there. He's on a stage this weekend. You could catch him on many more stages in the next few months. You can also get training on stages. What else do you want to talk about on the way out? Yeah,
man. I would love for everybody connect with me on LinkedIn, Jarrett Albritton. All my first degree connections are open. So connected a lot of recruiters, hiring managers, and HR leaders. So you'll be first degree connected to a lot of those folks. Definitely want you to connect with me on Instagram, Dr. J, DOCTAJ. You'll see it down below. Check out Big Tech Energy podcasts on YouTube, Spotify, all those things. If you're interested in tech sales, feel free to DM me on Instagram or LinkedIn. And if you are a job seeker, man, check out jobsearchgenius.ai. Utilizing the link that you'll see below, you'll get a nice little discount from Chris. So, his podcast is about to hook you up. So take advantage and make sure that you buy from the link below. And you take advantage of that discount. And then, that's pretty much it. I want to say thank you for having me on.
Yeah, man.
And, let's just, stay connected, on all platforms. And yeah, man, excited to, see how, I can support this brand, and anything you need, man, let me know.
Appreciate it. Yeah. And if you're on the fence, I mean, look at the amazing life this dude has created with tech sales.
Yeah, man. I didn't even really
Pretty
get into like a lot of the career and stuff, but you can make a lot of money in tech sales. You know, $250,000, $500,000, $1 million W-2s. So definitely don't sleep on tech sales, and, you know, check me out where I'll provide resources and, you know, other things that can help you get there.
Awesome. Well, we'll catch you guys next time.
All right.